Nigeria's insurance market of course, it's been attracting some foreign investors who are interested. Of course, the AXA mindset looks like a very good story, a reference point. Since then, we've seen a few shoots coming in. Dan Alliance came in with very deep pockets and announced that yesterday the acquisition of Ensure Insurance will be around the end of the year, but it's already for regulatory purposes and whatever that news is already out there on the street. Let's bring in Tajuddin Ibrahim, who is the head of research at Chapel Hill, Denham, to look at the insurance market for us around this particular event and then the sector in general. Good morning, Ibrahim. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is one news that, have you guys been sniffing around that this will come true for some time?
Well, I think the major thing to bear in mind here is that this industry is not much penetrated, relative to the banking sector, and also probably considering the other sectors of the Nigerian economy. So I'm not surprised that we are seeing more interest from foreign investors, that play on a global basis to gain penetration and exposure to the Nigerian consumers, and also gain exposure to the Nigerian businesses at large. So these are some of the factors that are responsible for increasing interest in the Nigerian industry.
Every man on the streets understands banking. Banking is as old as the human family.
Correct.
So we understand banking, which is about keeping some money under the pillow as a way, or giving it to someone to keep, then you get it back. So banking is straightforward. But when we say insurance, insurance is a business, even though it's a financial services business. But again, what do insurers target really?
So what it targets is, number one, it targets the demography. What is the population? What is the age of the population when you divide the population into several sort of segments? And also they also bear in mind or target the consumer's pocket. So that is on the retail side. On the institutional side, they target businesses. They look out for businesses where we are seeing growth. They take a look also at where we are seeing reforms, particularly in Nigeria, where we have reforms in the power sector, reform in the oil and gas sector, and a lot of other sectors where we are seeing reforms. So those are some of the targets that they look at, and on the back of that, they grow.
That's speaking to the macroeconomic environment. So if I'm an insurance or I'm an asset manager, I got deep pocket like Alliance and the rest of them, like AXA and the rest. I'm looking at what the government of Nigeria is doing, or sorry, what the government is saying, what the government is doing or plans to do.
Okay, so if we look at it from that standpoint, we look at the pension industry, for instance, and we bear in mind the regulation of that industry, and we bring to the fore, what the government wants to do with respect to pension regulation. So as I speak to you, about 10 years ago, we never had the opportunity of retirees going for annuity instead of programmed withdrawals, of their money. But these days, we have that option. And that is partly driven by regulation. So instead of doing like a lump sum withdrawal, and then probably after that you do a program withdrawal of your money after you have retired, what you can do in these days is to purchase annuity from insurance. That is the major sort of development we are seeing in that segment of the market. That is what is driving life insurance in the industry at the moment. And it is partly regulation driven. And the regulation came largely from the government end because, the Pension Reform Act 2004, the current pension scheme we have came to life because the government, had the support and they introduced it. It went through all kind of approval level, National Assembly, and then we have it these days. So it is government driving it via regulation.
I'm on the inside. Good. And I'm looking at the high unemployment rate in Nigeria. I'm looking at bad roads. I'm looking at a lot of negatives.
Good.
Or, you understand what I'm saying? I'm looking at all these risks. But some folks are sitting in the United States, in some European financial capital, or in Asia, and they're saying, hold on a second. What I see are opportunities and not negatives.
So if those are, so from that standpoint, what I can say is that you look at, there are two key elements that we look at in the insurance industry. Number one of them is insurance penetration. The second is insurance density. So those two ratios, send a lot of signals, in terms of the opportunities we have in Nigeria. So the number one of them, which is insurance penetration, is what is the insurance industry generating in terms of premium relative to the entire economy. As we speak, our penetration is just about 0.2% of the entire economy. That is the contribution of the industry as a whole to the economy is just about 0.2%. But in other countries, it is as high as like 5–10%. So that speaks to the opportunity or headroom for growth in terms of how much catch-up the industry can do. And that is part of the factors that foreigners are looking at to come into the country. Second is the density. So our population is about 170, 180 million Nigerians. How many of us are insured? Not more than, like, let's say 100,000 or maybe maximum 500,000. So that speaks to the kind of expansion that they could see in their businesses when they come into this country and begin to penetrate into those households where they don't have insurance. So these days you insure your household, your home, your TV set, your chair, and all those kind of things that you have at home. And also you insure your life and that of your children in terms of education plan. These are some of the insights that is sort of making them to come to Nigeria and develop interest in the country.
So despite inflation and high interest rate environment and what you call disposable income that we're saying, even if it's per capita, we're one of the lowest among the oil-producing countries in the world. These international, the PFAs, the PEs, and the asset managers could see opportunity